If you want fresh ideas on how to use YouTube to win clients and grow your influence, this interview with Tim Schmoyer is gold with a capital G-O, capital L, capital D. In today's episode of the Grow Your Video Business podcast, we talk about how business is here to serve us and our families, not for us to serve our businesses. We talk about how Tim started and built his YouTube agency, Video Creators, and how he's helped get his clients over 18 billion views and 61 million subscribers, and how your service-based business should be utilizing YouTube. And probably one of my favorite parts is that Tim shares a list of some of his favorite books. You guys know I'm a huge Audible junkie, but he shares some of his favorite books, which a lot of them I've read that have helped him, and I guess me too, along the way. What's up, friend? I'm so excited that you are here with me on this episode. This is one that I've been looking forward to for a long time. As you heard in the teaser, Tim is amazing. It's going to be great. But before we jump in, I want you to know about something really fun, really special coming up. We're coming up on episode 250 of this show. That's a big deal. That's like 250,000 minus, whatever the math is, 900, whatever. 250 episodes. That's a lot of episodes. And I remember I used to say it a long time ago when we hit episode 100, I was always like, we titled the episode 001 and then 002 and thinking like one day we'd hit 100. We did it. We've done it 2.5 times. So I would love for you to join me we're just going to do a virtual party, unless you want to come join me at my studio. That would be fun too. To find out when, where, how, you need to get into the free Facebook group called Grow Your Video Business. So search Grow Your Video Business on Facebook, and you'll find that group. Join that group. The party is going to be October 11th, so you can get all the details on that page. It's going to be a free event. I'm going to be doing some giveaways, and we're just going to have a good time, so I would love to see you there. If this podcast has had any impact on your business or your life, or you just like me and you're like, Ryan, I just want to be there to tell you a great job or something like that, you're definitely welcome. All right, let's hear from our sponsor, Core Group, and then we'll get right into this episode with Tim Schmoyer. If there was one thing that could have ended my business 17 years ago, it would be because of the numbers. I hate accounting, taxes, W-9s, W-2s, W-40s, spreadsheets, all of that stuff. And I hate it mostly because I'm afraid of it. I'm just not great with numbers. If this sounds familiar, or if you're so new in your business that it's not even on your radar yet, you need Core Group. Core Group can help you create financial systems and tax strategies that you need so you can grow profitably, and they've been doing this for over 20 years. They become an extension of your team so that you can stay in your lane of expertise and then lean on them to help guide you along the way. For me, having a team of experts in my corner to help keep track of our books and just to make sure that we're budgeting for taxes appropriately, to have an actual strategy for our taxes and our accounting is priceless. And it allows me to sleep easier at night, knowing that I don't have to be an expert in that arena. If you want to avoid surprises in your video business, and you want experienced help building a plan for the future that you want, both professionally and personally, head over to studiosherpas.com/core for more information. And when you're ready to set up a free consult with them, make sure to mention Studio Sherpas for a special discount too. Got your back. Get more out of your accountant. Go to studiosherpas.com/core. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to this episode of the show. Today, my guest is Mr. Tim Schmoyer from Video Creators. Video Creators has been featured on Fox, Forbes, BBC, even YouTube themselves, as his team trains other creators and business leaders to master the YouTube platform and use it as a place to spread messages that change lives. I love that so much, Tim. Their clients have organically grown by over 18 billion views and 61 million subscribers under their guidance. Today, he lives in Cincinnati, Ohio, and his wife and 7, that's right, folks, 7 children. Tim, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
I'm so glad that you're here. It was years ago, it seems like forever ago, that I saw a video of you on YouTube, and I'm like, man, this guy is really smart, and he's got a cool thing going. And this was like back when I started dreaming, like, what would it look like to be able to teach and help others on a platform like YouTube? And so this is kind of like it's like a bucket list item to have you on the show today.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. And yeah, thanks for watching way back when. I look back at most of those and do a little cringe, but I think that's kind of what we all do when we anything that we made more than like 5 years ago. We're like, ooh,
5 years ago. That's a long time. I'm like 5 months ago. I'm like, ooh.
Like, I can't believe that client paid me to do that, or I can't believe I published it and thought it was great.
But that's when you know, like, you're a true creative at heart. Like, you care about what you're making, and you're always trying to, become better and, do better than what you did before. So that's a good thing. As much as we all, experience that, like, I think it's very, very normal and natural for us as creators to feel like that.
It means we're improving, I think. For the most part, it means like our standards are changing and our skills are changing and improving. And I think that's a good sign too, obviously.
Yeah. So 7 kids. Let's just talk about that real quick. I know Grant, who works for me, this dude has 6 kids and he's like barely 30 years old. I know. So you've got this business. What is like work-life balance? How do you guys do this?
Yeah, I don't really know. We're kind of figuring it out as we go, like most people are, whether it's 2 kids, 0 kids, 5, it's everyone's kind of situation is a little different. So we had 1 kid and then we had another and then had another and then there was a miscarriage and then there was another. And so we ended up having 7 children in 8 years. And it wasn't really a planned thing. There was a time there when we had 4 kids, ages 3 and under, and I think we had 4 kids 2 and under. Yeah, so it was crazy. It was pretty intense. I'm a fan of like whatever the hardest option is usually the best option. And so I usually just go for that one, thinking that in the long run, this will be worth it. And it absolutely has been worth it for us and our family. And so we've homeschooled all of them right up until this year. So we have a few in school this year, which is a new thing for us that we're trying. I'm not convinced it'll be something we continue to do, but it's a good experiment to see like, oh, okay, that's why we don't do that thing, or it's not because we're anti-school. It's just when you have 7 kids, getting all of them ready in the morning for school and out the door and lunch is packed. And then this person's got like, it is a lot, way more time consuming. It feels like so far to manage them in school than it is just to homeschool them at home and have it on your own family schedule and your own routine. And I work from home. My wife is, full-time mom. So I think, we're trying it. We're trying it here. And if Christmas comes around and it's just not working, we'll pull them out and homeschool them all again. So it's not a big deal.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So the one,
but yeah, I'm not really sure what the management looks like. When you talk to people, ask that all the time. How does like work-life balance happen? And I think of it more in terms of less about balance and more about just what are like the non-negotiables and then what falls below the red line. And there's a lot of things our family doesn't do that a lot of families do, just because we don't have the energy or capacity for it. So I think it's more about saying no to things. And our family certainly comes first. The business is here to serve our family, not the other way around. So I don't work full-time hours. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that out loud, but I haven't worked full-time for several years. Although it feels like it. There's like, how you have the feels like temperature outside and the actual temperature. When you're the business owner, it feels like it's like a 50-hour week, and then you look at how I'm actually tracking my hours. I'm like, oh, it's only 30 hours? Like, my goodness, there's a lot of emotion that goes into that made that feel a lot bigger than it was. But So anyway, yeah, so more about priorities than I think about balance. We say no a lot of things.
Yeah. I think that's good. You know, there is this like feeling of like, man, is it okay to, tell people I'm only working 4 hours a week? Like, is that, because honestly, like, when you start a business, there comes this drive of like, you got to do all the things and it's super exciting, and then that becomes the norm. But then, a lot of us lose our way and we kind of forget like, well, why did I create a business to begin with? Well, part of it was because I just loved this thing. But the other part was like this idea of freedom. And if we have a business, but we never get to experience that freedom, or like, our job or our company demands 40 plus hours a week from us, then it's like, we're a slave to the company. And exactly like you're saying, you built your company, or today your company serves you and your family's needs versus, the other way around. And I think that's what we all want. And that's really my heart behind this show and the Studio Sherpas community. And that's how I've tried to build my video production business. And it's taken me a lot of years to get to a spot where I'm working 3 days a week on that business. I'm working 1 day a week on Studio Sherpa stuff. And, well, that's actually not totally true, because I am working probably 2 days a week almost on Studio Sherpa stuff. But I want to get back to 1 day there, and really 2 days in my production company, and 3 solid days a week where I'm, super focused and doing that. Like, that's my dream. That's my goal. And then to be able to have the freedom and flexibility to do other things. I keep wanting to like impact, people's lives and really help them. So I don't see myself ever getting to that spot where I'm like, yeah, 4 hours a week, like this is good, because there's this desire to want to do more, with my life. So I don't feel guilty. I think that's good. I think it's super aspirational for a lot of us.
Yeah, I think the problem is that when our identity starts getting wrapped up in our job and our work, and even our self-worth of like my success, personal, what I feel about my personal success depends on the business's success. Then we get into like these unhealthy places where we're driving the business and we're dedicating ourselves there, and we get to this point where we don't even know who we are outside of the business anymore. And I think those are all unhealthy places to be. But I think I've been able to, for the most part, have a pretty separate, like, this is business, this is family. And most of the reason of what I'm doing in the business is to serve our family. And so I think that's kind of helped me keep those priorities in check, so they don't really become like now I'm sacrificing my family for the sake of my business, because the business is the most important thing to me, even though none of us would say that. But if we look at our calendar, our schedule, and even our checkbooks and the way we spend our time and money, it actually looks though that the business is probably more important. And I think it's really easy to slip into that if we're not really intentional about keeping those things separate and keeping our priorities and boundaries intact.
Yeah, that's great. Before Video Creators, were you doing video, and like what was the thing that kind of compelled you to start this thing?
My very first video, I uploaded it to YouTube on March 2nd, 2006, and I was in seminary, in graduate school, and halfway across the country from my family, and I just wanted a way of introducing this girl I was dating to my family across the country. And so there was no Facebook yet. Then MySpace was a little bit of a thing, but I was never on MySpace. And and so I heard about this thing called YouTube. So my very first video was me sitting in front of an 8mm camera at my computer, and it's called test video. So I put a lot of creative energy into this. It's just 30 seconds long, and it's me just being like, well, guys, I don't know if I can do this or not. This feels really weird talking to a camera, but I just wanted to see if I could figure out how to get the photos off of the camera and onto the computer, And in my head, I was thinking, like, if I can do this, then I'll make more videos. And you remember FireWire? this community.
Yeah.
I can use some of that language, and people, because Firewire sounds way cooler than it really is. You picture like some sort of flame coming from out of you, like this. I don't know, nothing.
Right.
It's more frustrating than coolness factor. But yeah, so I used Firewire, transferred it in real time with Windows Movie Maker, which is, I had that on my computer, and uploaded probably a what was it? An
WMV?
or a WVM? WMV, is that it? The Windows Video Media, whatever. Yeah, uploaded it to that, and it worked. It got into YouTube, and I'm like, okay. So I started making videos with the same 8mm camera that of my girlfriend and I going out to eat, going out to the movies, going to the park, stuff like that. Today we would know them as vlogs. Back then, that wasn't a word. It was just being awkward in public with a camera. And we would just make these little videos. I'd put them on YouTube, email the link to my friends and family back home. And then something weird started happening in the sense of like other people started watching. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, who are you? These videos aren't for you. How are you finding them? Why are you watching them? Why do you keep coming back? Like, who is Catlicker72? And why do they keep commenting on my videos? Like, come on, guys. And everything I was hearing about social media those days was like, if you use your real name on the internet, people will hunt you down and kill you for some reason. And so I started getting concerned. Like, what is going on? There was no industry at that time, and so I just reached out to a few people I found who had blogs about online video, and I'm like, how is this working? Like, what's going on? And they're like, we don't know, Tim, but if you figure it out, let us know, because we have a lot of people asking us that same question. And I said, all right, well, I don't know, but I was concerned for my life. Apparently, I got to figure out what's happening, and started digging into trying to figure out how does YouTube work. What I loved about it was at that time I was a youth and family worker at a church, and I just loved seeing people's lives changed by efforts that I was doing and things we were doing. And my girlfriend and I decided to keep going on YouTube, and before long we had about 1 million people a month watching, which was unheard of at that time. Now it's not a huge feat, but back then that was crazy. And I loved it because I was hearing more stories of life change coming out of the people who are watching my girlfriend and I go out and do stuff than I had ever seen happen inside of my full-time gig inside the church, which I'm not dogging the church necessarily, although I can if you want me to in another conversation. But what I am saying is, like, for me, the youth group was about 180 students a week, which was great. But I just loved what was coming out of all the comments with people who had, who weren't committing suicide because of videos we were making. People, I remember getting this one email. I ended up marrying that girl, by the way. We put our wedding and our honeymoon and our first job and everything. And we got this email from this lady in Texas who's like, hey, you don't know me, but watching your videos though. And I saw that one video of where you and your husband are learning how to love each other better. I just got married 2 months ago. We're already struggling. I don't know if we're going to make it. But I saw that video. I shared it with my husband, and we talked about it, and now we have hope for our marriage again. Just wanted to say thank you. And stories of girls who are like, I didn't grow up with a mom, but because I've been watching your videos, I feel like I know what it's like, what it takes to be a good mom and a good wife one day. I'm getting married next month now, and thanks to your videos, like, I feel like I'm more equipped to head into this marriage now. And we're like, oh my goodness, because of videos we're making. So we loved it. Sorry, I'm giving you the longer version here. And we we just kept going on YouTube and making family vlogs and videos, just sharing like our real life of here's our struggles, here's what we're learning and what's going on in our lives and everything. And eventually I was working at a church, and I got fired from that gig, and it was a pretty messy situation, but it ended, and I was like, well, what am I going to do next? And started looking for some other church gigs, but ultimately reached out to a friend. Actually, they reached out to me. They needed some YouTube strategy help. I was still doing some of that stuff on the side, and so ended up working with them for about a year and a half, helping their company with YouTube strategy for their clients. And then after the end of a year and a half, they're like, Tim, we love you. You've been awesome, but our company's going a different direction. We think you should start a business for doing for other people what you've done for us and our clients. So they said, we'll give you 6 months runway, use our office, use our Wi-Fi, use our studio, like whatever you need to use to get your thing going. And so I did. Didn't know anything about starting a business, but I knew a lot about YouTube. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do for myself what I've been teaching others to do with their YouTube audiences. So I started Video Creators in 2013, and very quickly ended up doing YouTube strategy, 3 YouTube strategy deals for Disney. I did the Batman release for Warner Brothers, eBay, Budweiser, HBO, YouTube themselves started contracting me to do some stuff for writing curriculum for their employees to use to train other creators and things. And so it quickly grew into this agency that we are today, which is where we work with creators and clients and to grow their YouTube audience. But we love it not just because we're trying to help people get more, up to 18 billion views and growing, but because we see, remember, each view represents an actual person who's giving one of our clients an opportunity to speak into their life. And we're like, what are our clients doing with that opportunity, and how can we equip them to do that better? So that if we can work with 10,000 life changers, we call them, and help each of them get to 1 million views a month on YouTube, that's 10 billion touch points every month that's happening around the world that people are having with messages that could potentially change their lives. And there's not even 10 billion people on the planet. So we're like, we need a bigger BHAG here. It was our big, hairy, audacious goal. It's going to be even bigger than reaching everyone on the planet. But that's where we're at today, and it's a small team of us, about 10 employees and a bunch of contractors, and we just love working with people to help them spread their message and reach more people, change their lives, and starting with our clients' life and their business and helping them grow that as well. So it's been quite the journey, but there you go.
It's fascinating. What is your day-to-day, what are your responsibilities in the company today? As the team grows, well, let me say this way. When it was just me, I was everything. It was just I was the customer support, I was the sales team, I was everything. And then as we grew, that was the hardest point for me, actually, was going from me doing everything to figuring out how do I have someone else do something, and in a way that's still done just as good or better than me, because if I'm going to pay someone, I want them to do it better than I could. Yeah. And that skill was difficult to learn. But now here we are today, and most of my day today looks like managing the team and making sure that they're able to move forward and they're able to do the things that they need to do. I do mostly a lot of big picture vision casting, key partnerships and relationships types of things like this. And I still do a decent amount of the sales, but even that's not 100% on me anymore. But most of my time is big picture stuff, keeping things moving forward, and keeping the business moving so that there's work there for everyone else on the team to do. So as far as sales, is this still YouTube strategy stuff that you are partnering with people to help them? Is that what that is?
For the most part, I don't do any long-term client relationships now. So for me, a sale would look like someone goes to our website, books and pays for a one-on-one consultation with me. They could pay for a cheaper session with someone on our team, but I still have myself there at a higher price point, and I'm still pretty busy doing those, and so I'll convert a certain percentage of those people after a 1 hour session. they're like, oh my gosh, this has been way more valuable than I thought it was going to be. I got way more than an hour that I thought I was going to get. Like, this has been amazing. How do we continue to work with you guys? I literally don't even have to bring it up. Like, they are asking me by the end of that conversation, how do we keep working with you? And then it's a pretty easy pitch from there into what our longer form client relationship looks like. And then they get passed off to a different strategist on our team who then works on their strategy with them going forward. So
I love that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to Cat Licker 77?
I don't know. I kind of don't
Was that
wanna
actually
know.
that was somebody's handle?
It was actually Cat Licker 69, and my wife's like, whenever you say Cat Licker 69, I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And she's like, yeah. So I changed it to 72. So the actual name was Cat Licker 69, and I switched it to 72 just because my wife felt more comfortable with that, which I totally agreed. Now, after she mentioned it, I'm like, oh, yeah, there you go. There's that. Thanks, wife.
Oh, man.
So I don't know what happened to them.
Okay. Not
But
blushing.
there's
Not
YouTube.
flushed.
Yeah, now you regret asking that question.
Well, I won't even tell you what I was thinking when you first mentioned Cat Licker whatever numbers. So there's that. Beautiful. Okay, back on track here. Videographers, YouTube. So there is this this is what we do, right? It's the platform is massive. It's overwhelming. I think there are a lot of videographers that think, is it even worth me getting into YouTube? I know there are videographers that say, man, I would love to create tutorials on, how to light interviews or how to shoot, better and whatever. And that's cool. But then there's also this question of does it make sense for the growth of my business? Can I somehow use YouTube to get new leads, to get inquiries into people hiring me for my production business? And then there's this whole other idea of is there a way for me to help my production clients, the clients that are hiring me to do video for them, is there a way for me to help them any way strategically with a YouTube plan or with, kind of implementing? Because so many of us have seen, a client spends $5,000 or $25,000 on a video that we do, and then they put it on YouTube or they put it on their, whatever, on their website somehow, and it gets 17 views, and it's well, that didn't seem to work. So I'm curious from your perspective, maybe we can talk, first about, as a videographer, what would you recommend, or would you recommend YouTube as a good strategy to get new leads for people to hire our production company? And if so, how might you go about that?
Yeah, I'll give you the process I would follow to think about it, but I don't really know what the answers are because they probably will be different for each person depending on who their business is targeting and what they're trying to accomplish and things like that. But in any growth strategy on YouTube, it really starts with the viewer. Who are we going after here? So we call it the target audience. You can call it the customer avatar or whatever. It's not just age, gender, median income, general demographic type of stuff. We're going really a lot deeper into who is this person, what is their story, what do they really want, why can't they have what they want, what's at stake if they don't get this, and we're really trying to understand this most ideal person we're going after. So if the goal of the content strategy is to grow the business, then it makes sense what we're really going after is our most ideal customer. And so the better you, and the more intimately you'll know that person, the better the strategy is going to be after that point. So we have the start not with the types of videos we should make or whatever. We have the start with what's the goal here. If the goal here is to get more customers, then who is this customer, and what would resonate with them? What types of things do they watch online? Do they enjoy watching online? Would they come back and watch more of? And so really understanding that person is step number one. Step number two then is what we call the value proposition. What value do you propose to deliver to that ideal customer over and over and over again. Every single video is going to deliver this value to this person. And yeah, so we're not getting into content yet. We're getting into what does this person want that we can deliver. So I'm not exactly sure, but I'll maybe make up a scenario. Let's say it's your most ideal customer really wants to feel proud about this business that they're growing, and for them, video is a primary tool that they'll use to communicate. This is how excited and proud we are about our business.
No, that's
I'm making
this
this
actually
up
accurate.
Right now. And so the value proposition of your channel then should be about we want to show you how to use video to communicate how proud you are about your business.
Yes.
Don't say it like that, but you get the idea, right? And so then your content strategy needs to deliver on that value. So if you instead come at it from saying, you know what, we want to show people that we are video experts, and so we're going to show them our Red Epic cameras that shoot in 16K, and we're going to, I'm making this up obviously, and we're going to show them like how much, what our color grading skills are and how much dynamic range we're going to capture. It's likely that this person doesn't care about any of that stuff. All they care about is like, okay, but will you help me tell my business's story in a way that makes me feel really proud about what we're doing? That's what they care about. So then the content strategy needs to revolve around that. If you had just got into making videos about showing people what kind of experts you are, you're probably just going to swing and miss every single time on that content strategy. If the customer you're going after is that. Now, if the customer you're going after actually really does care about the technical stuff and they want to hire someone that they know like can shoot in 16K maybe, then that would be a thing that you should make a content strategy. But because we started with this person and what they want, they care about, we're now creating content to help them get that thing. And then after they start watching our content, learning how to kind of use video to communicate how excited we are about this business, then that's probably more on the storytelling side and a little less on the technical side of video production. And so you start equipping those people. Here's how you can be more proud about your business and communicate that in a story, in a video. And by the way, if you want us to come alongside of you and help you, we can totally do that. You can hire us here, that thing. So does that make sense? Kind of the approach as opposed to like, oh, all of you need to making these types of videos. It just depends on who you're going after.
Yeah, I love it. It's really helpful. I would say that where a lot of us, and I'm speaking from my own experience, I think early on I was seeing people online create these these really cool tutorials with red cameras, with these expensive lenses on these amazing sets. And so in my mind, that's what I thought that I needed to create. And I remember even like way back in the day in like 2006 when I went to my first video conference, and I was getting business cards from all these videographers, and they were showing their like huge broadcast camera on this like teeny tiny business card and talking about 3 CCD cameras and all this stuff. And I think there is this allure, this like sexiness of like the gear and all that stuff.
Yes.
But for the majority of us, if you're not working with agencies, that are doing like ad campaigns and like, kind of bigger budget stuff, nobody cares. For agencies, right, like the videos that I see and the behind the scenes stuff that I see on Instagram, I'm like, oh, this is so sweet. It's cool to see how they're doing this. But my clients don't care about that stuff. That's just me, like a gearhead. Right. Like I love to look at that. I love to see like, wow, how did they do that? And how could I do that on a much smaller scale with a much smaller crew and a much smaller budget? So this just kind of this unpacking of like, hey, don't just show up on YouTube and, start like breaking down your equipment or why you should do 3-point lighting. At the end of the day, most of your clients just want this feeling of like, I want to feel proud or more confident when I go to sell this thing if I can show somebody a video that makes them feel like they want this thing. in you showing off your stuff, or how you can do it really good, like that doesn't matter. So I think that's a really, really good point that you make.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's why we get paid to do what we do. But yeah, it's starting with the person is where any content strategy should start. Who am I going after, and what do they want, and how can I serve them, as opposed to like, I want to show them how cool I can edit things, and like, look at this, it looks like it came off of something from Hollywood or some professional Netflix thing or whatever. And your customers, again, depending on the customer, but they're likely like, oh, that's cool, but they don't know or care about your rotoscoping ability versus someone else's green screen ability. To them, it doesn't matter. What they want is like, I just want to feel good about my business. Can you just help me with that? So it's kind of a swing and a miss when you're going after, like, let me show you how good I can rotoscope, and they're like, I don't know, I don't care, So it's always comes down to what the viewer wants and how you can best serve them.
I like that. And I think this is a good transition here to, as you're thinking about your clients, when you're working with your clients. So thinking about the viewer, and then, what's the goal? These are the same kinds of questions that you should be asking your client when they have a video to make. So, really having them answer those hard questions, instead of them just saying like, oh, well, anybody could buy this product or anybody could buy the service. Like, push back on that and say like, okay, like, let's talk about ideal. Who's your favorite client? Why are they your favorite client? And because if you can add that strategic element to your sales process, the video that you're going to create with that client is going to serve them much better, and there's going to be a much better chance that they're going to be more fired up about you. Again, it's not about your process. It's not about their process. It's about the result that they can get for their clients. So the inception here is that the same approach that Tim's sharing for if you're going to go to YouTube and create in order to get leads, when you are getting those leads, you want to apply that same process for your clients, whether it's YouTube or Vimeo or like wherever they're going to be hosting those videos. It's the result. What is the result? What is the thing that they're selling? How is that going to help somebody, in their life? That's the thing that we want to, showing the behind the scenes of an office and whatever, that can only be helpful if that's the thing. But if it's something different, or it probably is something different, it's the result that we're trying to help them with.
Yeah, your customer most likely is not buying a video from you. What they're actually buying is a communication tool that's going to help them feel something or help their customers feel something. And video just happens to be one of the best mediums you can use to do that. But to think that you're selling videos is probably the wrong perspective to have. It's like we, as opposed to tapping into the thing that the customer really wants, is we help you communicate your message to the people who need to hear it, or we help you. Like at the production studio I used to work at, our expertise was taking really complex ideas, usually from tech startups and nonprofits, and communicating them in very simple visual ways, so that when a customer sees this video, they're like, oh, I get it. That's what you got to do, or this is why this matters, or this is how this works, right? And turning that into a quick 30-second story for them or a 60-second story that they can use. So that's what in those cases the customer was buying clarity. They weren't actually buying a video. A video just happened to be the tool that we were providing to bring clarity to them and their brand for other people. So
I love that. Yeah. So, over the last, you launched your business in 2013, so it was 7-8 years. What would you say, like, the way that I talk about business, when I first started in 2005, I think it was, we were mostly shooting weddings, kind of almost from the get-go. And so a lot of my the language, the way that I talked was just regular. Like it wasn't, but then in 2012, when we launched our corporate brand and I'm like sitting at conference tables and like going into meetings with like super important people. And, you know, it was very different. Like I had to, you know, learn different things to say, like a statement of work and ROI and, you know, just these different things. But through all of that, learning more about story and learning more about marketing and what it is that people really want. I'm curious because I'm sure the way that you approach business today is much different than in 2013, and you're able to, you know, you've got your message so dialed in today compared to, you know, back then. What would you attribute some of like your favorite books or author, you know, people that have influenced you and helped you, you know, become the kind of business person that you are today?
The books that have been probably most influential to me.
Yep.
And each of these have been influential because of different seasons of the business I was going through and struggles I was having at the time and things. E-Myth, Revisited, just a good classic everyone needs to read. That one was really, really helpful for me. Good to Great in terms of like, and they're mostly about the main thing that stood out to me was the team building thing of hiring the right people, getting the right people on the bus, and then figuring out the right seats for them. And then even as they grow and the business changes, is sometimes they need to get out of one seat and get into a different seat, and just trying to have everyone operate in their zone of genius has been more important for me and for our business than making sure I have all the roles filled that I feel like need to be filled. So another really good one was Every Good Endeavor, and this is more of a religious book by Tim Keller. But what I really liked about this book is that that was a season where my business was mostly just me, and if the only reason the business continued to move forward is because I was still moving it forward. And I felt that pressure and that stress for a few years starting the business. And I read that book, Every Good Work. I think the subtitle is like Every Good Endeavor, Connecting Your Work to God's Work. And it was helpful for me to get this realization, like, Tim, there's a thing called a day of rest that you should take. Yeah. And I was like, I can't afford that. I can't do that. But I decided to lean into it. And for me, that just meant going can I just go 24 hours without checking work email? And that was like step one. Now it's this big family rhythm that we do every Friday night. Our kids love it. It's their favorite time of the week. And it's this really life-giving thing. But anyway, that book is when work was becoming an addiction and a thing that was sucking me in. That book really kind of helped ground me, and that book was good. Yeah. Around that same time, The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz became a really big book. He talks about the way you grow a prize-winning pumpkin is that you plant this prize-winning seed / idea, and you grow this, you nurture it, you water it, and as it grows, the vine grows. In order to get a prize-winning pumpkin / business, is you have to cut off all these other pumpkins that grow on the vine and take nutrients from the biggest pumpkin on the vine. And he calls those other pumpkins, he calls them opportunities or distractions that are disguised as opportunities. And that was really big for me. At that point, I ended up firing about 30% of our clients that I was like, I can do this work, but I don't like doing it, and they're not good clients. And it was unsustainable for a few months financially for us, but I had to do that in order to turn things around and grow. Like, what do I want to be the best in the world at? In our business, I want to be the best in the world at doing custom strategy for creators who are trying to grow their content on YouTube. So anyway, there's that. Primal branding, really big. I'll go through these kind of quickly. That was really important. Profit First, also by Mike Michalowicz, in terms of how we manage our finances. Ready, Fire, Aim by Michael Matheson, I think is his name. Really one of the most practical step-by-step how-to books in terms of how to take a business from $0 to $1 million and then 10 million and beyond. Million Miles in 1,000 Years by Donald Miller. Really, because what he does in that book is he tells a story about how he learned to tell a story for video. you know, and how he took like his number one best New York Times best-selling novel, and how it was changed and translated to become major motion picture production. But in true fashion, Donald Miller tells the whole thing as a story, and learning how to tell good stories and then live a good story was the kind of the main thing that came out of that for me. He says that the same principles that make up a good story also make up a good life. And that was really big for me at that time too. Like, okay, I want to tell good stories, but I want to live a good story. And living a good story means that you venture into the unknown, and you say yes to the inciting incident, and you face the obstacles, and you overcome the challenges in order to live an experience that most people will only dream of. No one likes stories where the hero just stays really safe the whole time.
Dude, I love that. I didn't realize that he had a book about, I'm assuming it's Blue Like Jazz.
Yes, that was the one.
Dude,
yeah.
That was a life-changing book for me. That was right before my business had launched. I had finished reading that book, and then I remember hearing that, they're coming out with a movie, and I would love to get my hands on that. That would be fun read.
Yeah, A Million Miles in 1,000 Years was really, really influential for me. Thou Shalt Prosper by Rabbi Daniel Lapin. It's really good, looking at like Jews. The Jewish population accounts for about 2% of our population, but they control 80% of our assets. What do they understand about business? And that book is really, really enlightening for me in a lot of ways too. It was a long one. Anyway, Personal MBA for me was good as well, because I need to learn business. So Josh Kaufman's book. You want more?
That's great. I love it.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing those. I think 3 or 4 that I haven't read. Personal MBA. That was a fun one too. I was like, man, there's lots of really solid stuff in this.
Yeah.
I feel like I cheated the school system.
Hey, that's what homeschoolers do. We're like, we don't need an MBA.
Right.
I can homeschool myself an MBA. If I own the business, no one cares that I have an MBA. Or if I don't or not.
Well, so I would love to, in your perspective, if you were, starting a video company, or maybe you're a handful of years into your video company, and you need more clients. I don't even want to pick like an industry or anything like that, but more just like big picture. You need more clients. What is, you go on YouTube. I don't know how many trillion videos there might be on YouTube. Does it make sense to start a channel? How would you even approach this? Would you as a service-based business, as a video company that wants to grow, and really work with a specific kind of person, not or brand or company or whatever, not just like whoever would hire me, but like, these are the kinds of companies or clients that I want to have. What would you do? How would you approach it?
From a business perspective, I don't think it's, I don't know if safe is the right word, but smart maybe to put all of your lead gen in one basket, whether that be YouTube or paid ads or word of mouth or whatever the case might be, ranking blog posts or whatever. I would use YouTube, since you're a video production company, you know how to make videos, and I would then just do for myself with my content what my customer is looking for, which is probably more lead gen, using videos to explain what my business is about. But I think my content strategy on YouTube will revolve around helping my most ideal customer get the thing that they ultimately want. And most of that comes down to just talking with a lot of them and getting to know them, getting to know their stories, and hearing them use in their language, how do they describe the problem they have and what they would like to accomplish with video, and then using that same language to describe the problem that you solve for these people. So I would use a content strategy on YouTube. We kind of already talked about at least that process, but I wouldn't only be doing YouTube. I would be connecting on LinkedIn. I would be going to various local events. I would probably be doing some free videos for people, even if they don't ask, just making it for them. And then like, hey, here you go. I made this for you just as a way to get my foot in the door, to get introduced to the right person. And like, oh, thank you. Wow, this was amazing. Thank you so much. Like, yeah, I thought this community event you guys were doing was awesome. Just wanted to make a highlight video for it, and so you guys could have something to use for next year or something, just get your foot in the door for next year. And but a lot of it would just be networking, be shaking hands. And I don't think what I would do is just kind of be like, you know what, my main lead gen here is going to be YouTube videos, and just wait for someone to find one of my videos and then hire me. I think I would be a little bit more out there shaking hands and getting work coming in maybe more traditional ways. So like for us, like at first it was me tapping to my personal network of, like, even before we started getting stuff automated, and we have a long waiting list now of clients that are just waiting for capacity for us to work with. Before that, I started by calling a couple people I knew, like, hey, I'm doing this now. Do you know anyone who's looking for some YouTube strategy? No, I don't, but if I hear something, I'll let you know. And it was just a whole bunch of that until I finally, like, one guy led to another guy who led to another guy, and then that led eventually to this guy being like, yeah, we've got some clients, but I think we're gonna lose them. Is there anything you could do to help us save these clients? And that was Disney and Warner Brothers. And I was like, well, let me try. So I took over their YouTube strategy for them. Wasn't even really getting paid at first. Like, let me, and so I did some strategy stuff, went back, and they're like, thank you so much. This saved that client for us. Like, how can we continue to keep working with you? And then every paid gig after that, it's about $10,000 for about a day and a half's worth of work. But I did the first one to, like, prove myself. So I think, I don't think that there's a right or wrong way, but I do think that when I work with some entrepreneurs who are doing a little bit more of just sitting around twiddling their thumbs waiting for the clients to come, as opposed to the people who are going to go hustle, who are going to shake the hands, who are going to just make the connections and go fly out to that person, take the risk that it might not come of anything, but it might come of something. You just don't know. It's just doing all of those things until you finally get enough momentum under your belt to have referrals and word of mouth, and your reputation kind of growing to grow your business for you.
I love that. That's really good, because as most creative entrepreneurs, it's the safe thing, the comfortable thing is to make a video, sit behind the computer. Just, this is my safe place. I'll grow my YouTube. I'll go on Instagram, and but going out, shaking hands, like meeting people, like doing other things, that's not really my forte. But like, it's in the building of relationships. It's in the human connection, the touch points that we actually make physically in close proximity, where trust is built like so much faster. And I went to, just last week, I went to our marriage mentor couple from almost 20 years ago. Their middle son, who was not, I don't even think he was born when we first met them. Oh yeah, I guess he was. Bought his house, so he was having a housewarming party. So the marriage mentor couple was there. Their kids were there. Their friends were there. I'm sitting at the table, and the marriage mentor's brother-in-law is sitting at the table, and he's like, you know what? He's like, you still doing that video stuff? And I'm like, yeah. And he's got this opportunity for us. It's this like massive, like, healthcare something or other. And I'm like, this is so funny. I almost didn't come because we had a full day. We just got back from vacation, and then we went to a graduation party. It was like an insane day. But I'm like, I love these guys so much. I want to see them. I'm a people person. That comes naturally to me. My wife was like, I'm bowing out. I need to just rest and unpack and whatever. So regardless, I'm just a better person than she is. Just kidding. By far, a million times. So anyway, had I not gone, this conversation wouldn't have happened. And then his wife is like, oh, and we're starting this like marriage retreat thing. And, we should actually get a video. And so both of them are like talking about video opportunities. And I'm like, I did not go to like network. It was like a family friend event. And I didn't bring up video or anything. I'm just like sitting there. I was telling jokes, But that's the deal. It's like being present, like in the mix of people, and really just wanting to be available, add value, like all of those things. That for us has been the biggest difference maker. Stuff like YouTube strategy, stuff like Facebook ads, whatever. Like that we're like, yes, let's try to figure this stuff out along the way. But let's not like let that one thing be the driving force. If there was only one driving force, it would be we just need to be meeting more people in person so that they can figure out real quick, Ryan's really annoying because he's totally outgoing and his jokes are terrible, or we actually like that. That's charming about him, and what would it look like for us to do some work with him because we really want to.
Have you seen the show Undercover Billionaire? I
just actually that night somebody shared that show with us, and I wrote it down in my little app for us to watch.
Yeah, it's on Discovery Network, on Discovery Plus if you have that. But it's really fascinating. Basically, the premise of the show is they take a self-made billionaire and they drop this person off at some undisclosed place in the country with nothing but $100, the clothes on their back and a little backpack, and a cell phone with no contacts, and an old truck. And they have 90 days to be in this place where they've never been, don't know anybody, and only have $100. 90 days to grow $1 million business from nothing. Okay,
get out of here.
And it's really interesting because season 1 and season 2, what these people are doing, every billionaire so far, what they don't do is what I see most people do. It's like, all right, I got to get my website up and going, and I got to have a really good sizzle reel, and I've got to get some business cards. I gotta they're like, no, I only have 90 days to make $1 million business, and so they go straight after like, who can I serve the best, and all of them do work for free just to get there, because no one knows, and they can't use any of their real name, their real identity, any of their actual contacts or anything. They're literally just starting from scratch. And so one of the things they all do in common is, who is my most ideal customer? And let me just start going and showing how much value I can provide to them just for free, until they get so blown away that they end up paying me to do this. And all of them, all four billionaires have done that same approach. So if that's the way a billionaire is going to do it, it does become really easy for us to get caught up in all the things that we feel like we need. We need the Red Epic camera, and we feel like we need certain professional attire or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But not these guys. They're like, I'm going to go make the sale, and then once I make the sale, then I'll go buy the camera I need for that shoot, after they give me the money to do the project first. And I'm like, well, when you're working with $100, it's the way it works. So anyway, I appreciate that. I do think that if that's the way it works, and that book, Ready, Fire, Aim, he kind of takes a similar approach. It's like, no business cards, no website, no nothing. You have no business if you have no sales. Business cards don't make you have a business. You need sales, and without sales, you don't have a business. So go get the sales going first, and then figure out the product and the service and all the stuff after that.
That's super powerful. I love that. That's so good. I'm definitely going to watch that. But I think that's a really great takeaway just from all of this conversation, because that, again, as a creator or creative, there are things that are flashy and that we're drawn to, that we want to believe that if we have that, that's the thing that's going to give me the confidence or whatever I need to be able to get that sale and to grow this thing.
No, those guys are like, I'm going to get the sale first. And the one guy, he makes a pretty big point. Sorry, a little spoiler alert here, I guess. But he says, you have to find the buyer first. Buy the buyer first, and then figure out what the buyer wants, and then you create that thing to sell to them.
Yeah.
But you don't create the thing you want to sell and then try to find the buyer, because you might end up creating the wrong product in that sense. So, yeah. So just go hit the pavement and get her done.
Yeah, I love that. Get her done. Well, let's end right there. No, but seriously.
On the get her done. Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah, that's really good. Where I just learned, our kids were watching Cars. We were on family vacation last week, and we were watching Cars. And I was like, who does the voice of Mater? And Andrew was like, oh, it's the Cable Guy. I'm like, oh my gosh, of course.
Yeah.
Too funny. Well, Tim, where can people follow along with your journey and what you've got going on?
Anywhere you want, kind of. I mean, videocreators.com is our main business website, but we do our own content strategy at youtube.com/videocreators. If anyone's looking to figure out, like, how do I grow this thing I'm doing on YouTube, and how do I get more views, more exposure onto my content and my videos. And that channel's been a little bit inactive, but we're bringing it back. We do have a very active podcast, though, weekly show where we go. It's me and two of the other strategists on my team. We go beyond the basics of where a lot of the stuff goes, which is like, where's the record button on my camera? How do I upload a custom thumbnail? We're going more into, like, we're going to assume you already know how to make videos, you're publishing them, and you know the basics of, like, how to upload a thumbnail and things like that. What are the next level tactics and tricks and strategies look like for growing on YouTube? So you can just search iTunes or anywhere you listen to your podcast for Video Creators Podcasts, and we should pop up there. And I think that'd be a great next step.
Love it. Well, thank you, man. This was really, really fun. I want to give you an opportunity to, if there's a more inspirational kind of way to exit outside of get her done, that could be that could be it. But I'm just gonna put the ball in your court.
It works for Larry, so it's probably good enough for me. No, I mean, I the only thing that I would normally say in that wrap-up situation would be like, guys, like, remember, this isn't just about making videos. This is about creating assets that will reach people and change their life. And the viewer on the other side doesn't necessarily even think, you know what, I want to watch a video. They're like, I want to watch this because I think it's going to be valuable to me. And so it always has to come back to providing value for the viewer, whether that's your customer you're going after, whoever that target is like this. We've done videos. I hired a guy who edits American Ninja Warrior on TV, and Next Top Model and Super Nanny, and does all those big television gigs. And I put a lot of time and money in making a video with the fancy editing. I hired a film crew, and we storyboarded and this whole thing, and just big epic piece. And I published it, and it only did a little bit better than my normal videos do. And what I learned and I tried it several times, and even though it looked like Hollywood Netflix level stuff, I realized, you know what, my audience isn't subscribed or watching because of how fancy we can get with our production. They just want this message. They just want this story. And I can tell that a lot cheaper, a lot easier. And so just remembering, like, what this really is about isn't about making a fancy video. This is about making an asset that can reach people and change their lives. And focusing on that as the goal will do much better for you and your business than any sort of fancy rotoscoping, even though we do have some fancy rotoscoping in it. It looks really cool, actually. But it didn't matter. No one cared, because what they really wanted was, like, how's this going to serve me? And that's what I lost sight of that. It's really easy to get caught up in the gear and the tech and lose sight of the person that we're actually trying to reach. So
I love that. Really good.
Is that
That's better. So with that, get her done. Right. With that, get her done. Go. Tim, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Really, really great, valuable stuff, and just super enjoyable to spend time together. Friend, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would love to hear what's your big takeaway? What was helpful for you in this episode, or what's one thing that you're going to do? If you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, leave a comment below, or you can shoot me an email. I'm ryan@studiosherpas.com. Or if you're inside of the Grow Your Video Business Facebook group, you can leave a comment in there and just let people know what you're learning, and that would be amazing. Don't forget about episode 250 coming at you fast. I would love to see you at our little celebration. October 11th, we'll be live inside of the Facebook group. So get in that group, grow your video business on Facebook, and I look forward to talking to you really soon. See ya.